Hello, my name is Dr. Joanna Kujawa, Joanna for you, and I am your spiritual detective who investigates with you the archetypes of the other goddess, sexuality and spirituality, and goddess consciousness, and many other esoteric topics, whatever comes, as long as an interesting topic for me. And today we have a very special guest, Veronique Flayol, who is from Southern France, who is a lecturer and a tour guide in Southern France. And today we are going to be talking about the Black Madonnas. And I invited Veronique for several reasons. One of them is that she's one of our favorite guests. I think it's your third or fourth visit, right, here. And another one is that in part 3 of my book, The Other Goddess, I do talk about the Black Madonnas and some recent controversy around them. And also one of the Black Madonnas, and I'll just very quickly show you, was very important, just let me find it now, was very important in my grandmother's life. So I want to show you this, just a moment. Oops. Sorry for the delay. This, that's it. That's a different Madonna. That's Madonna from Poland. She's called the Black Madonna of Częstochowa. And my grandmother went by foot, across Poland to see her. And at the end, I will have a tricky question for you, if okay, Veronique. Because there is some mystery with this Black Madonna that has to do something with France. So I wonder if you can help me, and which I never could solve myself. So with no more delays, sorry for this mix-up at the beginning, let's welcome Veronique and her fantastic story about the Black Madonnas.
Bonjour, pleased to be with you again, Joanna. It's always a pleasure.
Bonjour.
Yes.
So we are going to start the PowerPoint presentation, and I can assure you that Veronique is an expert in everything she talks about. And sometimes when I feel I go too far in an esoteric direction, as a reality check, I interview Veronique to make sure that that everything is back to balance.
So yes, I did. I prepared for you and your guest a little presentation, a little slideshow, for you to better, in fact, to better know these Black Madonnas. I'm not very well also in techniques.
Oh, very good. That's fantastic. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's very good. Perfect.
Okay. So just wanted to explain a bit, and I like this quote, which is from the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs, and the woman said, "I'm dark yet lovely, O daughters of Jerusalem, like the tents of Kedar, like the curtains of Solomon. Do not stare because I'm dark, for the sun has gazed upon me."
Amen.
And I really love this quote, which is to me very related to the Black Madonna. And I wanted to present these Black Madonnas because, in fact, they are considered as really the very old and the very, very special goddesses who were worshipped 10,000 maybe years ago, before our era. So even men were celebrated, this mother goddess, and this Madonna was called, depending on the civilization, they were called Maya. They have been called Demeter. They have been called Cybele. They have been called Isis also. And in fact, all these statues worshipped were Black. So the mother goddesses in the first myth were really the carriers of the original feminine, and they were called in old times they were called Magna Mater, which means the Great Mother. And you know, but after, of course, we had first we had this civilization changes, and we have the male hegemony and the male that's the male warriors, gods who were worshipped instead of these models. But in fact, we keep that in our memory. It's kind of you know, not really intentional, but it's a part of our memory. It has been, you know, printed, in fact, in the collective memory, and that's why they have never been totally forgotten. So after we had the Celtic deities, the Roman, the Greek, and little by little we arrived at the dawn of Christianity, and of course with Christianity these black Madonnas were worshipped, but for another meaning. So we have here the picture you can see is one of the most famous we have in France. That's the one I keep also at home. She's called Notre-Dame de Rocamadour, Our Lady of Rocamadour. Rocamadour is a place in the center of France. It's a very big sanctuary with 7 chapels, and one of them is dedicated to the Lady of Rocamadour, which is a very powerful black Madonna, and one of the most famous. We have another one here. This one is very close to where I live. It's in Manosque, and she's called Our Lady of the Romigier. And the Romigier means bushes with a kind of rose bushes with thorns, and she's the oldest black Madonna we have in France. And in fact, what we can see with the story of the discovery of Our Lady of Romigier is that we have this common synchronicities between the different black Madonnas, and one of them is that most of the time they are found in the same way. I mean, they are totally buried inside a very deep, very rich and dark soil, earth, and suddenly they are in a field, and suddenly the bulls stops in front of the bush, and it doesn't want to go further, and so they just take the bush off, and underneath, when they dig, they find this black Madonna. So most of them, that's the same way they have been discovered. And after, of course, when they are discovered, they put them in a church, in the church. And most of the time, what happened, that's very strange, but that's what the part of the legend, that they don't want to stay in the church where they are put. They escape at night, and yes, and the day after, we can find them again where they have been found. And this many times until in fact they decide to build a chapel where the black Madonna was found, and then after they stay where they were found. But what we know, in fact, is that they are found on very special places. Here, for instance, that's a good example. In Chartres, for instance, we have 2 black Madonnas, one underneath in the crypt, and the other one, which is called Our Lady of the Pilar. Here we have this example of this very special place where they are found in Chartres, where the cathedral has been built. We have a well underneath in the crypt, and this water was linked with the Druids. And every year, once a year, there was a gathering of Druids at this place where the cathedral is built and where Our Lady of Underground now is kept. So it's very we can see that the places where they are found are very connected with most of the time that they are places with a lot of telluric energies, very strong energy, and that's what happened for Chartres, for instance. So we have this one, Our Lady of Underground, the one we can find now, we see now is not the original one. Of course, during the revolution, we had a lot of destruction of of Black Madonnas. This one is a fidel copy of the one who was before, and the one Our Lady of the Pilar is in the cathedral, and this is the one who was also, this is something very common for most of them. They the church painted their face, their hands in white, to make them white Madonna, so Virgin Mary, instead of the Black Madonnas. And so in Chartres we have both. Now they have clean. Very recently, I've read that Our Lady of the Pilar is real colors now.
So can I interrupt you for a moment, Veronique? Because
yes,
there was this controversy around this Madonna, Lady of the Pilar, because I read an article in the New York Times, I think, when they said that they restored the Madonna in 2012. And that they realized that the face of the Madonna was actually white, not black, and they thought that the black color could have come from, the smoke of the candles and so on. And lots of people were very disappointed because they were used to seeing the Black Madonna, and it was so much of a tradition in Chartres. Yes. So I wonder what it is, because the people who did restore it, the historians, they said they were surprised too, but once they cleaned it up, they said that the original was actually white. So I wonder what you think about it.
Yes, I know this story. In fact, this when they restore it, they found that not really white, but not as black as she was. So she was painted white. Then after, in Middle Ages, what you have to know is that there is someone very, very important to understand the why the church and what is the link with the church and the Black Madonna. I don't know if you know him. It's Bernard de Clairvaux, Saint Bernard de Clairvaux. Yes. He is the one. So he was very devoted to Mary. To Virgin Mary. He is the founder of the Cistercian order. He is also the one who edicted the rule of the Knight Templars. And it is said that he was very connected with the Celtic culture. And in fact, he had this idea not to deny this Celtic connection with his devotion also for Mary. He had this great, maybe divine inspiration to call this Black Madonnas, Our Lady, Notre Dame. This is something unique. All these Black Madonnas are called Our Lady, and in that way they could be worshipped in churches without being worshipped as really Black Madonna in their old way. So it was a great idea, and that's what happened for Our Lady of the Pilar, because in fact in Chartres at this in the late Middle Ages, they didn't want the people to go underground to pray this Black Madonna, Our Lady of Underground. So they had the idea to paint also, so from white, then after in black, the Black Madonna of the Pilar, Our Lady of the Pilar. So the people didn't go underground to have in fact, the energy and the connection with the old goddesses, but they stayed in the church and they adorn Our Lady, Notre Dame, which was supposed to be Virgin Mary, in fact.
But in fact, it's a much older tradition. So this
Yes.
is the Our Lady of Underground, which is made of from wood,
pear
like
wood,
dark wood,
well,
right? Yeah.
Pear wood, yes. So this is also something they explain, because the church is very uncomfortable with these Madonnas. So they said, as you say, that probably they have been they are dark because of the smoke of the candles. They are black because they have been found in a dark soil, or they are black because the wood is which with they are made with is also dark. But in fact, these Madonnas were really they were representing the dark force. In fact, the dark for the church, of course, the black is a satanic color. But if we consider the Celtic culture, dark was the color of the primitive, primordial chaos, or of the deliverance, of the end of a cycle, for instance. In fact, and we can see most of them, and this is also a common point, are worshipped in crypts underground, underneath the church. And the crypt can represent also a grotto, cave. So it's in the dark, and we know that these druids were making initiations, but it was not in the sun. It was in shaded places or in dark places. It was at night. So all this reminds, in fact, all these Black Madonnas are a synthesis of all this primitive Celtic culture.
So I really love it that they were very rebellious goddesses, because in the other goddess, I call them also rebellious goddesses. So they ran away from church and people had to build around them, right? So they went back to their original place and they had to build a chapel around them, not be removed from where they believe they belong, which is connection with, with the planet, with the earth, right? And with a very ancient tradition.
And what you can see also, and it's something very common, that they have this, so they are on a throne. Here we can see Our Lady of Underground, but most of them are sat on a throne, like a bit, in a very strict way, like Isis. And we have a picture of Isis sat on a throne with Horus on her knees, like this one with baby Jesus. But if you really look very carefully, you can see that Jesus doesn't look like a baby. Jesus, most of the time, looks like already, if he was old, like an old man. His face is not the face of a baby, and that's what for most of them, is blessing with one hand, and on the other hand is holding a globe, which is the world. So all of them are quite represented like this. Okay. After, of course, we know that we already had a podcast on that, but she's someone we have to mention, because Sarah is really very special. It's a very special Black Madonna. And here again, when we are the first crypt, and I think this is an old picture of the whole crypt, we had this black smoke on the ceiling, on the walls. And they say also that Sarah was Black because of that. But in fact, we know that Sarah was probably either an Egyptian queen, or the goddess of the Indian, and so that's why she's Black. And in fact, for the Christian, in the Sainte Marie de la Mer, Sarah is just a saint, but for the gypsy, Sarah is really a Madonna. That's the difference. That she is our Black Madonna. But for the church and for others, Sarah is just the Saint Sarah.
Yeah, that's why, because I actually wondered, if we can about Sarah, because in my book I was saying the story, from the Golden Legend that we discussed in previous podcasts, that she is the person, the tribeswoman or some kind of gypsy queen, right, that welcomed Mary Magdalene and her companions when they arrived in France. However, this is what I was wondering. So she would be a saint in the church, but it is the same very Black Madonna that the gypsies, right, consider the Black Madonna, and they actually carry it around their necks and sell the picture like as the goddess, basically, right?
Yes, she's really the goddess. She's the goddess for the gypsies, and she's a Madonna, a virgin. But for the church, when we discuss about the Provençal tradition, she was only for the church. She was in Jerusalem, and she came with a group and with Mary Magdalene. For the gypsies, she was a queen of a tribe. So, but now, and in a few days, it will be the gypsies procession for Sarah in the 24th of May. So next week, and when you go there, they really worship her as we worship Virgin Mary. Yeah. So
it is the main deity for the gypsies, right? It's the
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. Okay. Of course, she is. Yes, and and they come from all over the world, so it's really a very deep rooted tradition for them. Here, I selected this one because, in Aix-en-Provence, which is also the place where, in this cathedral, Magdalene and Maximin were supposed to preach and to convert the people. We can see the temple. And on the side, in one of the chapel, we have this Black Madonna. We had 3 Black Madonnas in Aix, but 2 of them have been destroyed during the revolution. And we have this one still here. And it's a bit different. You see, I wanted to show her to you because the attitude, the gesture is different. She looks more human first, and more like a mother. And you can see the baby Jesus is different. Is not facing the faithful. So when you are in front of her, you can see the face of Jesus because she's breastfeeding. Yes, thank you. Yes, it's a hard word for me. So she's more looking like a mom, like a mother, than really a very strict virgin in the way of the other Black Madonnas. So it's interesting to see that sometimes you have very original ones, which make the difference with the others.
So this one, really doesn't look like Isis. The other ones look like Isis. This one looks like a very motherly, almost like Renaissance paintings, right? Which are much later.
Exactly.
Much later.
She was carved later also. This is one of the explanation, not in the Romanesque period, but later at the 16th century. So they have changed a bit the way they represent, but she's considered as a Black Madonna and Our Lady Notre Dame de l'Espérance, Our Lady of Hope. And here, this one, I love this one. It's a beautiful Black Madonna. She's behind a gate because she was stolen, and so now they secure the Black Madonna. So it's not a very good picture, but she her too. She looks very human. And what I wanted to show with this picture is that sometimes they are considered as Black Madonna, but they are not really very black. And you see here, it's not really a dark face. And this Our Lady of Marseille is not really totally black. If you look at Jesus, baby Jesus is white, but she is considered as a Black Madonna. She makes miracle, because this is also something we have in common with most of the Black Madonnas. They are also worshipped because they are making miracles. People come to ask for a wish fulfilled, or for, of course, for something special to do. And this one has been, she's known because she stopped a fire in the city. There was a big fire for a long time, and the same for the one in Toulouse, Our Lady of la Dorade. It's the same story. So sometimes they are worshipped for special gifts they have, either to protect from the plague. It happens many times, or to avoid catastrophe, and this is very special. And so when people are, when their wishes are fulfilled, they pay tribute. And you can see here by the church of Our Lady of Marseille, there is a small museum where people bring their tribute. We call that ex-voto. So an ex-voto is a gift given to the Black Virgin for the miracle, to thank for the miracle they made. And so, of course, yeah. Yes.
So I just, before you move on to your story, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think that people call them Black Madonnas, some of them, even if they don't look black, because of the ancient tradition to this, ancient goddess, which is either Celtic or, Celtic, or Egyptian, like Isis, and they perhaps people want this continuity, right? So even if some of them even don't look that dark, but they are still called the Black Madonnas because of the worship of the Black Madonnas in the region, right?
Yes, that's totally true. And for example, in this church where we have Our Lady of Marseille, she's white, we can say that, but she is a Black Madonna. When we found her, it was the same. It's now in the niche where she's kept, was in fact a little Roman temple, and this statue was worshipped in it. So for the Roman, she could have been associated with Diana or with Cybele or someone like this, and now she becomes the Virgin, our Lady of Marseille, and she's still worshipped as a Black Madonna.
As a Black Madonna.
Yeah. So yes, and I was. It's funny that you also have a story of Black Madonna in your family. You mentioned your grandmother who traveled to worship the one you have in your country, and I have also my miraculous Black Madonna, who is kept in the crypt of the Abbey of Saint Victor in Marseille. And here again, we have sometimes I think that we can also make this link not only with the old goddesses, the Magna Maters, but also with Mary Magdalene, because when we travel, and especially here through Provence, where Magdalene spent the last 30 years of her life, we can see that in many places where we have a Black Madonna, we have also a link with Magdalene. Either she spent some time there, or she's represented, she's worshipped here. So this is also the common point we can see. I think, to me, there is a link with these Black Madonnas and with Mary Magdalene as well. And here, for instance, where Our Lady of Confession is kept, it's in the crypt. Again, we are underground. And it is the place where the former Christian, they gathered to pray. And Lazarus, Magdalene's brother, was doing just behind the wall you see here. There is a chapel where Lazarus, it's carved in a cave, and Lazarus, Magdalene's brother, was used to give confession there. And Magdalene and the former Christian were attending the ceremonies here in this place. So you see, there is something very special, and it's not by chance. To me, it's really when you go there, you visit this place, you go underground, there is something very special. You can feel the high vibrations of the energy. It's totally unique. And of course, because I have this very special link with that one in particular, I feel really, for me, it's a very moving moment when I go there. I was there at the beginning of next week, and it was really something very, very special. And this Black Madonna made this miracle for my grandfather, who was a little boy, and he couldn't walk. Two of his brother died already for convulsions, and he was paralyzed. And my great-grandmother, who was, they were living in Marseille, and she was very devoted to this Black Madonna, and went many, many times to ask for, my grandfather to be healed and to be able to walk. He was 3 years old, and he was still crawling on the ground. And one day she said, Our Lady, this is my last request, and I want Gabriel to be as a normal child, and if he can't, please come and take him with you. So it was her last request. And when she came back home, my grandfather was standing up, he was walking, and he has never been ill again of convulsion. So we considered this as a miracle in my family.
Oh, that's a lovely story. Thank you. Thank you, Veronique. So I have actually a question for you, if you don't mind, that relates to a dilemma that I had in my book, The Other Goddess, when I was talking about the Black Madonnas, right at the very end, because I was talking, so it's actually a fantastic sequel for me, because I was talking about the Black Madonnas in connection with Mary Magdalene, which you touched upon this. And I looked into this, controversial book, Holy Blood, Holy Grail, on which, the Da Vinci Code was based, the film about Mary Magdalene and so on. And in this book, the British authors were coming up, it's a fantastic book to read, I just don't know how real it is, but they were arguing that the offspring of Mary Magdalene started that French, Merovingian, Merovingian dynasty, sometime later. So I wonder, first of all, what you think about that, because it may be a legend. And the other one is because there's quite a bit of time, right, between Merovingians and Mary Magdalene that passed. But I would like to come back to the Polish Black Madonna from Częstochowa. I know it's very difficult to pronounce for people. And I will tell you the story because there is a French mystery around the story. First of all, she's really black. She's black, and she was painted black. And because she was painted in 6th or 7th century in Constantinople, in Byzantine Empire. And during the late Middle Ages, she traveled through Ukraine to Poland and became like the main deity in Poland. Like actually, she is the main deity. Like people, like if they pray to this Black Madonna of Częstochowa most of the time, traditionally. And but one scholar mentioned it, and I could never figure it out because perhaps it has to do something with this Merovingian legend, because she's the Black Madonna, but she has on her coat, she has fleur de lis, you know, which is the sign of French dynasty, right? Like the French kings.
The French kings.
So we wonder, how is it possible that someone who was painted, you know, a painting that was painted in Byzantine Empire and then spent the rest of the time in Central Europe, first in Ukraine for a short time and then in Poland, has this fleur-de-lis on her coat. So because obviously there is some French connection there, right? Would you have any speculation on this?
Yeah, maybe there is a connection with the French king's lineage, but also the fleur de lis. Sometimes you can find a fleur de lis also on paintings of saints. It's not only the royal symbol. It's when doesn't come to my mind, but for instance, in the basilica in Saint Maximin, Saint Dominique, Saint Dominique, the founder of the Dominican order, is represented with a dog. That's his attribute, but also with the fleur de lis. You have many saints represented with the fleur de lis, or with the palms of martyr, for instance, when they have martyred. So it's not only the king. I don't really know the story of this virgin. I apologize, but it comes to my mind that it could have been just because maybe she was special, or she was considered as a saint, or because sometimes with the paintings of the saint, you have the fleur de lis.
So maybe, so maybe you solved the mystery from my book, because I was wondering, why does she have this? And nobody could tell me, you know, why does she has this fleur de lis, you know, here? Because I thought there's some connection with France, and this is what I was asking, you know, in the other goddess, and I thought I would check it, but I could never find it. So it could be that she is a saint, but because she's also referred to as the Queen of Poland. So it can be just a sign of royalty, right? Because you said it's basically a sign of royalty.
Maybe both could be explained like this, yes.
So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for your presentation. I always learn so much, you know, and even when I was preparing, as you know, for my book, you know, I considered Veronique Flayol my French consultant, you know, if I wasn't sure about something, you know, I did an interview with her. So Veronique, I know that you do very special pilgrimages, not only for Mary Magdalene, usually in Provence and in the Qatar country as well, Eros, now Occitania, but also this fall, I think, you know, early October, you are planning a pilgrimage to the Black Madonnas, right? Would you like to tell us something about it?
Yes, this year, because as I said, we have a lot of Black Madonnas in Provence. You know that we had more than 400 Black Madonnas in total before the revolution. But the French Revolution, as I said, destroyed. We have, most of them have disappeared, stolen or destroyed. But we are very lucky in Provence. We still have 2/3 of what is left, and we have a bit like 150 in total. And so this year I decided to visit the places, not only for Mary Magdalene, but also to better know these Black Madonnas, because they are fascinating and people really want to know the connection, why they are black, what is the meaning, is there an initiation behind that? And so really to deepen this way, I organize it's in October, from the 3rd to the 10th of October. I will lead a very special pilgrimage on the footsteps of Mary Magdalene, of course, because as I said, in most of the places we have this link with the Black Madonna and Magdalene, but also for the Black Madonnas in special places in Provence.
That's fantastic. And I also, you send me the link, so when I post the video, I'll post the link as well. So I would really like to encourage everyone, if you can go to France, which is, you know, beautiful place by itself, southern France, you know, this beautiful pilgrimage, so you can also connect with the energy of the Black Madonnas. And, you know, I would be interested in hearing what, you know, from listeners and viewers, you know, how they felt about it. Would you like to add anything else, Veronique?
No, just yes, to thank you, of course, to be your guest, for being your guest today. I have been really very pleased, and yes, I think that's a huge topic, the Black Madonna. So yes, if people are interested, maybe there's a lot to learn and about them, because that's very, very special, and we are really connected in the old goddesses and really on the divine feminine with them.
That's right. So thank you so much, Veronique.
You're
And to
welcome.
our viewers also, I encourage you to check the link under the video if you're interested in any of Veronique's tours, Mary Magdalene and Black Madonnas. And also, if you would like to connect with me, I encourage you to check my book, The Other Goddess, Mary Magdalene and the Goddesses of Eros and Secret Knowledge, because there I look also into the Black Madonnas, but more so with a connection with Mary Magdalene. And thank you so much, Veronique Flayol. It's always pleasure. And until next time.
Yes. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.